In this presentation, we will examine children with ADHD and the potential for exercise as treatment. The following video shows some basic aspects of ADHD portrayed by an adorable puppy. This cute little guy is utterly incapable of focusing and is constantly distracted by everything around him. He even loses coordination and falls over. As cute as this is for a puppy, such traits in a person could be quite problematic.
Traditionally, ADHD is broken down into three main symptoms: inactivity, impulsivity, and hyperactivity. Together, they interfere with normal functioning and development.
Inactivity includes learning and attention deficits, just like we saw with the puppy that kept getting distracted. While ADHD doesn't affect overall intelligence, it does, however, often exhibit uneven intellectual development in affected children.
Impulsivity manifests itself through social behaviors inappropriate for a child's age. This is often linked with an insatiable demand for attention and emotional difficulties.
Hyperactivity is pretty self-explanatory. However, ADHD can also cause limited fine and gross motor skills, as well as poor coordination, just as we saw in the puppy falling over.
But wait, there's more underneath the surface. ADHD also impacts children in less visible ways. Kids with ADHD constantly perform worse than normal developing children on tasks pertaining to executive function and inhibitory behaviors.
So how is this relevant to children? Well, first off, a study in 2011 found approximately 1 in 10 children between ages 4 and 17, or 11%, to have ADHD in the United States.
However, the cause of ADHD remains uncertain. Previous attempts to understand its etiology have shown ADHD to be more complex and multidimensional than originally thought. Many small additive environmental and genetic risk factors create a wide range of visible symptoms. Other studies have suggested that insufficient neurotransmitter levels and physical changes in the frontal lobes are responsible for this disorder.
These affect children in many ways. Kids with ADHD sleep less. Their behavior can often create conflict between family members and relationships. Academics are also negatively impacted by ADHD, and affected children often report a lower overall quality of life.
Currently, there are relatively few options for treatment, which primarily include therapy and medications. However, exercise has been shown to have many beneficial neurological effects and is emerging as an alternative for ADHD treatment.
Regarding inactivity, research done in 2010 by Medina et al. Found physical activity to significantly minimize attention deficits in 25 children, regardless of whether or not they were on medication. This could help children improve academic performance.
Exercise has also been shown to improve aggressive social behaviors. A 2012 study by Verrett et al. Found that after a physical activity program, 18 children aged 7 through 12 demonstrated up to a 21% improvement in behaviors compared to a non-exercising group. This could minimize family and relationship conflict.
The same research team demonstrated that exercise resulted in a 15% improvement in locomotion and motor skills for 21 children ages 7 to 12. However, the researchers of the study declared the conclusion to be only exploratory, needing further replication. For neural activity and executive function, multiple studies found benefits from exercise improving planning skills. These improvements may be the result of modifying brain structure and function, particularly in the frontal regions of the brain. However, this is also just a hypothesis.
Now we'll go in depth on two studies looking first at the effects of exercise on executive function. A 2015 study by Pipemeyer et al. Compared cognitive performances between normally developing children and those with ADHD. The researchers based their study on the hypothesis that children with ADHD have different neurological compositions in the prefrontal cortex, specifically associated with executive function. Their main question was, can exercise mitigate the cognitive hurdles associated with ADHD? In their methods, the researchers used flyers and emails to recruit 32 participants from the local community, a private K-12 school, and an ADHD clinic. They incorporated a screening process to confirm the children's reported diagnosis. They then utilized a crossover design where the subjects were randomly selected into two groups. Group A received the exercise treatment first, and Group B received the control treatment first. After 72 hours, each group received the opposite treatment. 4 minutes after each treatment, the researchers conducted the cognitive tests. The exercise treatment consisted of 30 minutes of aerobic exercise with a 5-minute progressive warm-up, 20 minutes of moderate intensity activity, and a 5-minute cool-down. The control condition simply watched a 30-minute Planet Earth documentary chosen for entertainment and age-appropriate content. The researchers measured physical exertion through heart rate monitors and a rating scale in which children were asked to rate their efforts from 1 to 10. The cognitive measures consisted of a 3-part Stroop test, a Tower of London test, and a trail-making test, all of which were used to measure different aspects of executive function. For Part A of the Stroop test, the participants were given a board with colors spelled out in black ink and were asked to read the words as fast as they could. For Part B, they were given a board with different colored blocks and were asked to say the color of each block as fast as they could. Both Parts A and B analyzed speed and performance of processing. For Part C, they were given a board with colors spelled out in different colored ink and asked to say the color of each word as fast as they could to analyze inhibitory control. Overall performance was measured by total time taken to complete the task. The researchers also used the Tower of London test, which involves manipulating pegs into a desired state to evaluate planning and problem solving, as well as the trail-making test to evaluate the ability to switch between tasks. A 2x2x3 mixed ANOVA revealed a significant result for condition. The researchers found that participants completed the Stroop test significantly faster in the exercise group compared to the control. However, none of the other tests had significant findings. In other words, the only convincing evidence was for the improvement of speed of processing and inhibitory control components of executive function.
Now we'll look at a 2013 study done by Smith et al., which looked at additional behavioral aspects of ADHD and the effects due to exercise. The participants of this study consisted of 17 children between kindergarten and 3rd grade, all with 4 or more ADHD symptoms according to DSM-4. All 17 children received 30 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity every day before school. This was done for 8 continuous weeks. Participants were evaluated before and after the 8 weeks. These measures included BOT2, which measures motor skills, Shape School, which looked at set shifting and inhibition, similar to the Stroop test, mazes to analyze planning and perceptual organization, as well as finger windows, which measured spatial working memory. Children also had weekly measures of inhibition through Simon Says, red light, green light, and were evaluated for behavior through the Conners test. The study found significant effects in BOT2, one condition of Shape School, red light, green light, and behavioral improvements in Conners. There were also several positive but insignificant trends in all the other tests performed. At the end of the study, each child was reevaluated by a parent, a teacher, and an unbiased researcher for their improvement in several measures of ADHD, as seen in this graph. Several conditions showed major improvements. Most notable were self-esteem and social skills, where the evaluators found over 50% of children to have improved. Overall, 64 to 71% of children were reported as having improved symptoms after the exercise treatment. So what are the big takeaways? We would like to reiterate the fact that research on the effects of exercise on children with ADHD is still in its early stages. Here we presented studies showcasing the potential benefits of exercise on the symptoms of ADHD. Executive function, motor skills, as well as many behavioral aspects improved after exercise, but this evidence simply lacks reproduction. As interest in this field of research grows, we hope to obtain more definitive conclusions on the possibility of exercise as a treatment option for children suffering from ADHD.